What's up, folks? I'm bored. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm bored. I'm in the hotel room in New York City. Ain't got nothing to do. I don't want to go out by myself. So I said, I'm bored. I took a nap earlier, so I'm not tired. So I was like, let me kick it with the people, man. How y'all feeling on a Thursday? BET uncut. No, ain't none of that. I ain't got none of that for you, bro. Sorry. You better go get them. Maybe one of them sex chats will pop in the comment section. You can go hit one of them up because I ain't got it for you there, Boxing Monster. But what's good with y'all? Sporadics, what's up with it, man? So how y'all feeling? Let me turn this music off. Hold on. How we feeling, man? How we feeling? FSU Tony, what's going? Like, what it do? I don't have anything particular to talk about. It's 10 o'clock here on the Eastern time zone. Exactly, bro. They 2 minutes into a live stream, they come in here cutting up. Already with the foolishness. But how are we feeling? This is a safe space, Florida State fans. Are we confident? How are we feeling? The quiet storm. I like that. I actually kind of like that. I kind of like that. But how are we feeling, though? I've been playing this game out in my head, man. I really have. They made the switch. Sam McCall to safety. He was always a safety. So that's not a surprise, Jamal. That's not a surprise. What you want me to say? Good for DJ. We missed out on one. I did tweet something on Twitter. So I'm going to stick with what I tweeted. I'm going to stick with what I tweeted. And what I mean is, I said on Twitter, I am not going to talk recruiting until probably after the Florida game. Unless like some big news breaks in terms of a decommitment or a commitment in between that time. The reason being, I was told all we got to do is win football games and we gonna be able to recruit. So I'm going to be fair. I'm not going to jump the gun or jump to any conclusions. And I'm going to let these last, what are we on? Is it 5? No, 4 games. I'm going to let these last 4 games play. I'm going to let Miami, Syracuse, Louisiana, and Florida. I'm going to let these 4 games play out and see where we finish. Is it 8-4, 9-3, 7-5? I don't know. But I'm going to let these games play out. And then I'm going to talk recruiting. Because if we get 9-3, 8-4, what's the excuses, right? So I want to see how we finish on the field. Therefore, I can adjust fire on how we finish on the trail. If we struggle down the stretch, then maybe we recruiting on par. But I am going to not talk recruiting until that time. But shout out to DJ committing to LSU. I mean, LSU is a top 10 team. So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But y'all saying y'all feeling very confident. Irv say 60-40. Ooh. That's not very confident, Irv. You're giving Miami a pretty decent chance of winning this ball game. We did our show earlier tonight. I picked FSU versus Miami. Florida State winning 44-17. Do you think we handled them like we handled Georgia Tech? Norvell Central and big game James 31-17. And Chip was 31-13. I got it 34-20 myself. There's going to be a lot of penalties. I'll say that. Just hope they have more. I ain't worried, though. Art Davis says he found the trick to recruiting. Check the Twitter likes before they commit. It was looking like Chester was... Well, I mean, Chester had been crystal ball for LSU for a while. That was just one of those things where I think a lot of us, myself included, was hoping that Alex Atkins can kind of pull one out of the hat. You feel me? So it didn't happen. So it is what it is. Mm. 32 zip. In my opinion, if we dominate Miami, I think the recruiting will be fine. Well, I think it has more to do with just Miami. We beat Miami last year, and we don't need to rehash how that played out. I think you got to do more than just beat Miami. I mean, you're not just recruiting against Miami. You're also recruiting against Florida. And while both teams have worse records than you, they also are recruiting better than you. But again, you're not going to bait me. I'm not talking about recruiting until after the season because I want to see how we play on the field. 35-17. I don't think TVD's that big of a factor. I just think 34-20. I think Miami can get 20 points. I don't think that's hard. Yeah, I don't think it's that hard. Irv says it's more about us than them. We seem to struggle when we're supposed. This year I disagree with that, Irv. This year, every game that they've been favored big in, they've covered. Duquesne, obviously, Boston College, and Georgia Tech. Other than that, Florida State has not been favored big in any game. Every game that they have supposed to blown teams out, though, they have covered. So I don't necessarily agree with that, Irv. Oh, Ardavius, I mean, you saying it, not me. Again, I ain't talking recruitment. 38-14. I'm glad y'all confident, though, on the real. I'm definitely glad y'all confident. I think that's what's going to happen in recruiting is already in effect. No difference in recruiting. Okay. UCF, Big 12, bringing in more money than UF Miami. Well, we need to get out of this conference. And I've been saying that for 2 years. So if you've been watching me that long, you know that I've not been a fan of the ACC the entire time. So nothing new there. Polk, you think Verse can make that left tackle spin? Like, it would be dope to see. If you watch Verse, though, I don't know if he'll make him spin, but I wouldn't be surprised if he puts a tackle on their ass come Saturday night. I wouldn't be surprised if he put one on their ass. Go watch Georgia Tech tape. I wouldn't be surprised if he put a tackle on their ass. 30-10. Okay. I mean, y'all seem pretty confident in our and that's to be fair. Miami does not have a good offense. So we'll see. Man, I just think Miami can't score regardless who they play. To a degree, I actually agree with you, Timmy, but I don't think 20 points is scoring a lot of points. I mean, they kick field goals to 14, right? So what's another is it above the realm of possibility that Florida State gives up a couple touchdowns and a couple field goals, like I don't think 20 points is a lot of points. No, I hear you. I definitely hear you. UM finna have hella players leave and decommit. I'm interested to see how they finish on the trail. Um, I'm definitely interested in that. The TV deals are coming to the ACC. Unfortunately, means we'll stay in the ACC, but way more money. Okay, we'll see what happens with that. We'll see. I don't 47-4. You think they get two safeties on us? God, no. You think the secondary will play the best game of the season? So I agree with a lot of y'all. Like if Garcia is the starter, whew, I think this game could get ugly. I do think this game could get ugly if Garcia is the starter. I will say this: Restrepo, they're supposed to get Restrepo back, and that's like their best receiver, even though he's a slot guy. If TVD plays and Restrepo plays, well, they have a certain chemistry. I mean, it still doesn't worry me because unless you tell me Restrepo is going to go for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, so unless you're telling me that happens, I'm not too worried. I'm just saying it could make things a little interesting to start off the game. They are saying TVD starting, but I actually kind of wanted to save this discussion for my post game. That's right. Even now, I'm thinking of things that I'm going to say post game, because I have a feeling if TVD plays, how that thing could go. But I can talk a little bit on it now. What's up, Enzo? One of our Louisville brothers in the building. Says Louisville won 3 games in a row, so I've jumped off the Knowles bandwagon and back on my own. I feel you. I think, but let's talk about this TVD thing real quick. Mario could be making a grave mistake. Mario could be making a grave mistake here. You have a quarterback that, even with his struggles, has the potential to be a first or second round draft pick. NFL teams will think that he has tools that they can utilize. And I understand the Florida State game's important, but you can't seriously consider, I mean, unless you're telling me this guy is 100% healthy, which I think everybody and their mama would tell you he's probably not. Seeing how his arm was in a sling, you saw how much pain he was in when he got hurt. You have a hard. Mario is walking a extremely thin rope playing Van Dyke in this game. I get it. You want to win it, and I get it. This game is important because you really haven't had any bright spots this season. So I understand you want to give your team the best chance to win, but at what point do you put that aside and think about the best outcome for your player? I'll be honest with you, y'all. TVD, and this has nothing to do with me being scared of TVD because I am not. TVD has been the starter in every Miami loss. So to be honest with you, bring him on. And we beat him last year. I could give a damn less. But if I'm being real and taking all that BS aside, forget the rivalry for a second. How about we look out for the best interest of the player? My phone just went off. How about we look at the best interest of the player? And on a serious note, you're going to jeopardize this kid. What if, hypothetically speaking, you put that guy out there, Verse gets a hold of him, or anybody for that matter. They don't have the best offensive line in the world. They don't have the best offensive line in Florida. nonetheless the world. He falls on that shoulder again and breaks the collar, and the injury gets worse. Now you're jeopardizing his career. I know nobody's thinking of this. I don't know if I've heard a Miami fan talk about it, but they're not going to talk about it because they have this undying loyalty to Mario Cristobal. So to them, he can do no wrong. But I'm being real right now. At what point do you say, TVD, it's not even worth this game? We're a 4-4 team. What does this game really do? Even if you win it. I don't think he should play him. I don't think he should play him. I just think that you're setting that kid up for failure. By trying to make yourself look good or win a game, you're setting him up for failure. And then, okay, that's the worst case scenario that he gets hurt again. But again, if he's not 100% healthy, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's even his throwing shoulder. I could be wrong there, but I'm almost remember hearing injuries on his throwing shoulder. How good? So not only does he have a chance of getting hurt again, now you're talking about his throwing shoulder is not 100%. So he goes out there and plays like trash. You're ruining his stock. You're ruining his potential. You're upping his probability of another injury. What good does TVD do you if he's not 100%? And by all accounts, he's not 100%. Of course, this all is a moot point if he comes out there and balls Saturday. But for me, I highly doubt it. I think Mario better hope one of two things. If he does start TVD, that he goes out there and he completely throws for 300 plus. Win, lose, or draw, he throws for a bunch of yards, a few touchdowns, and he looks like the old Tyler Van Dyke. Win, lose, or draw, that's what he better hope for. Or he better just sit him. Because anything in between that looks like a stupid coaching decision in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. What y'all think? Tim says if TVD starts, I see some BS happening that'll get revenge statement in the beginning of the season sticks with me not saying him. But I'm a big firm believer in Vegas and etc. Just saying. Miami said they start and take. If TVD gets hurt again, he'll transfer. That's the worst of it. If he gets hurt again, if he gets hurt again, how do you justify? I believe it's a huge probability TVD transfers at the end of the season. Might be the wrong quarterback to transfer. That's just my opinion. I know they think Jake's the future, and maybe he is, but I haven't seen it in Jake. And I told people that the first time I saw Jake play football. What if Lovett falls on that shoulder and causes internal bleeding and TVD can't throw the ball anymore? I don't know about internal bleeding, but seriously though, what if something happens and that's it? That could jeopardize his life in the future and how he does normal things, forget football. I mean, I don't know if it goes that deep, but I'm strictly talking football. I'm no doctor. I don't know what you call a shoulder specialist, but you could ruin a man's football future is all I'm saying. And to top it all off, both shoulders are injured. I feel like he's forcing it so they can have the moral victory of if TVD was healthy, we could beat FSU. We hung in there while he was healthy. I can see it now. Well, it's stupid. As a Miami fan, I respect that statement. Well said. Well, thank you. Well, as a Miami fan, I'm curious to know how you feel about Tyler Van Dyke playing. On a serious note, I'm curious, Caveman, how you feel. Do you think there's validity to what I'm saying, or do you think I'm just trying to bash Mario Cristobal? Versus going to obliterate TVD. What do we expect Mario to say? I personally don't think TVD plays. It doesn't make sense, but they better hope he does. Garcia's not. What Mario should say is TVD's not healthy and we're going with Jake Garcia. Or I mean, or you can play the injury game and just not say who's. I'm just saying it might be a bad look if you play TVD. That's all I'm saying. Speculation on my part. As always, guys. I don't know anything. I just talk. Everything I say is really just a bunch of BS. I really just sit on here and talk. TVD is mid. I'm not saying he's good. I think he's better in the right system. I think that is obvious. Go watch last year. He's better in the right system. Mario Cristobal doesn't care about Manny Diaz players. Well, damn. They his players now, so I don't want to hear that Manny Diaz stuff. If Mario starts TVD, it would be a selfish move, and I don't know how he recovers from that as a coach. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, the only way he can recover is if he actually goes out there and plays well. It's the only way Mario can justify it. Anything in between. I mean, again, even if he doesn't get hurt, if TVD throws a couple picks and 200 yards, like if he just looks like a shell of himself, you feel me? So I think it's a selfish move, but I'm curious what Caveman has to say. I know he's the Miami fan that seems to be in here. By the way, hit the like button, guys. Little impromptu live tonight. I ain't got much going on, so figure I'd do some a little late night. Don't know how long we'll be on, but I'm on here for the foreseeable future. So 43 people in the building. That's a nice little turnout. Hit that like button. Are you injured or are you hurt? Yeah, but coaches, I get they never tip their hand. I don't disagree with this. I don't even know how to pronounce that, bro. Denny Buxton. I'll call you Mr. Buxton. So I don't disagree with this part, Mr. Buxton. I disagree with the part of throwing out Tyler Van Dyke to give the opposing team something more to prepare for. Right? I don't disagree with that. And that could ultimately be the game plan here. If I'm being, if he's playing, doing some gamesmanship, if he's trying to game the people, ultimately him putting Tyler Van Dyke's name out there is just to try to give Florida State something extra to prepare for. And I'm okay with that. Like I understand that, the gamesmanship of that. So again, everything I'm saying could be a flat out mute point. You feel me? And this could all be gamesmanship. And he could not play TVD again, which in my opinion is a smart move. So I'm with you. I'm just concerned seriously, and I'm just curious to see how Miami fans justify if you play him. When, by all accounts, the man was supposed to be out like some weeks. I know it's a new age and kids heal faster than they normally heal. So again, all of this might not mean much. I'm just interested at the take there. Yeah, Insane. I'm back on here tonight. Orlando want to check in. They can make a valid point. I would love to win the game, but I would love to save my quarterback and have an opportunity to see him in the NFL if it's in the cards for him. Or how about just save him for next year? I know a lot of people think, well, TVD might transfer, but I mean, I get it. You're bringing in like Rashada, you got Garcia, you got Jakuri, who I don't really think is a quarterback for y'all. I think that's apparent. I think if Jakuri Brown was really in the future plans for QB for y'all wouldn't be wasting his eligibility just running the ball. Like, you're going to waste a red shirt on Jakuri Brown. Because correct me if I'm wrong. Has he not already played in more than 4 games? He's played in at least 3. I know I saw him run the ball last week, the week before that. Hell, and I think the week before that. So he's at least ran the ball in 3 games. They're saying he's going to run the ball in this game. I think that's pretty telling, because if he was really in the cards to be a future quarterback of this team, I think he would save that red shirt and develop him. That's my opinion, but I appreciate that input, Caveman. In 2 months, Miami went from winning. ACC isn't rebuilt. Yep. Mario lands his OC in the first is a run first play caller. And the entire pass attack from Miami is all comeback routes, do the O line breaking down in 1.8 seconds. So they run 7 to 10-yard comeback routes. Why do all the Miami fans act like this ain't a rivalry game? Well, I talked about that Wednesday. We in the building, bro. TVD is coming back too early. Heard he's throwing with the same power, but where's his comfort level at? We'll see. I think he's coming back too early too. Again, this has nothing to do with me not wanting him to play. I honestly, from a football standpoint, just the game standpoint, I don't have any worries if he plays. I'm more so looking out for the player, believe it or not. And what I think could be a very irrational and terrible coaching decision. But people said Mario was the next Nick Saban. So he has played in 4 games. That's what I'm saying. So they've wasted a year of him already. So his red shirt is done. If he's already played in 4 games, he can't play another game. I think it's up to 4. He can play in 4. So if he plays this game at all, he's done. The red shirt's out the window. Tells me Jakari's probably not in the future plans at quarterback. Remember all the UM fanboys thanking us. Yeah, I do remember them thanking us. Now they paid $8 million to rebuild. But they went bowling. How did 22 become a fixer-upper? Jakari needs to see the writing on the wall. They won't even let him throw the ball. What's up, VJ? Them boys started off in the top 15 in the preseason. All of a sudden, it's a rebuild. Anyway, where's Jerg at? Man, I tried to get Jerg on here because I might do something tomorrow night. Well, Jerg always busy. Jerg always busy. Who is messaging me? What's up, Peter? I thought Jacuzzi had a good arm. Well, I said that. I said that as much. I said, I know y'all got Rashada coming in, so you might not be worried about Jakuri's red shirt, but in a way you should. As you see with Jake Garcia, I don't care how good a guy is in high school, you still need that period of development, and the more able bodies you have, the better. You're obviously not working on Jakuri's passing, his mechanics, his throwing motion, right? Because the only thing you do with him is put him in a wildcat and let him run for 5 yards or whatever it is. So I don't know. Again, I don't know anything. I'm just really talking. Can FSU stop the U run game? Insane. I don't know what run game they have. I know they got Parrish. Parrish is a solid back, but bro, what's the best defensive line Miami's played all year? A&M probably, right? How many yards did Parrish have against them? I honestly don't know. Somebody tell me in the chat. How many rushing yards did Miami have against Texas A&M? From a talent perspective, I guess it would be Texas A&M, right? Even though I've watched plenty of A&M games, and those boys have not played up to their stars on that defensive line. But I guess I would say A&M's the best D-line they've played. Florida State doesn't give up the run, if you check the numbers. So you as a run game? Definitely miss Jerg. We're not even going to be trolling or anything like that. Jerg say he busy, bro. I'm trying to get him on here. I think Jerg running from some smoke. That was confusing. That boy Kamari Will Coxon. Like that boy's name was Will Coxon or something like that, or confusing. That's a 4-star that's in the portal now. Florida's got some guy. Florida Miami, bro. They are new coaches are starting to clean house down there in those teams. FSU can use some of these guys, man. If FSU is in a rivalry game, hold on. It's one of my Louisville fans. If FSU is in a rivalry game, who do they think is? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Red State. Do you have an LA Rams in your logo? I mean, I get Louisville because that's the state of Kentucky, but LA Rams? Miami has no run game. Let's get it, Kenny. It's Kentucky, bro. I bet you Mark Stoops could do good at Florida State. Guarantee it. He has a cap on it. There's a ceiling at Kentucky that he'll never get over. A ceiling doesn't exist at Florida State. I stand with Mark Stoops. I don't care what you say. I watched that man build a national championship defense over here. I know what he's capable of. I mean, that's a good point too, because App State ran it right down. That's a good point, Tyler. App State ran the ball all over Texas A&M. If we talk about the best D line, and so that goes to my original point: who's the best D line that Miami has faced? They've played such a weak schedule. Like seriously, who's the best defensive line they've played? Show me the D line that they've played that has a Jarrett Verse on it. I don't see it. And I'm not saying Jarrett Verse is the end all be all. Just show me the talent though. Because again, A&M has a bunch of guys with a lot of stars by their name, but none of those guys are playing up to their talent level. At least at that time they were, right? Mark is just in a really tough division, and that schedule is like top 15 hardest in the nation, I think. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I stand with Mark Stoops. I know what Mark Stoops is capable of. Okay, 34-17. Tell him, Todd, hit the like. Shout out to Nicholas Johns with the $10 donation, man. Appreciate ya. Jordan is prime for another big game. Who's your wide receiver that stands out in this game? And which running back hits the century mark first? I'm going Trey Benton just because I think Trayshawn Ward will play, but I think they ease him in there. And Miami, I remember Miami saying that they didn't tackle well because Manny Diaz didn't coach. Well, they still don't tackle well, and Manny Diaz isn't there. So they're going to have a problem with Trey Benson because they don't tackle well. So I'm going to go Trey. And receiver, I got two. One in the heart, one in the mind. My heart says Micah Pittman gives Mario the finger and puts up over 100 yards on him. That's what my heart says. That's what I would love to see for Micah Pittman. I like Micah Pittman. I do. I like him a lot. He's not having quite the production I think he thought he might have. I mean, who would have thought Johnny was come out here and go for 600 yards in his first year at Florida State? I think Micah Pittman can get 100 yards and give the finger to Mario. You can tell in the interviews too that he still has some resentment against Mario. That's what my heart says. But my head goes back to Johnny Wilson because he's a mismatch to any DB that Miami tries to line up on him. 6'7", he's a mismatch. There's a reason why Johnny has over 600 yards of receiving because he's a mismatch. And I'm always down to use that mismatch. So my head says Johnny, my heart says Micah. You pick. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the $10 donation. And of course, since it's Miami Hate Week. What's in my pocket, dog? Big face Honda. Just left them all. Bought everything that I wanted. Will Coxon can't tackle worth a flip, and he covers slightly better. Is that true? I mean, I honestly don't know much about the young man. But I'm down. I'm always down to add to the DB numbers because DBs, in my opinion, have been the weak part of this defense. Miami should consider Florida State to be a rival. I don't know why. Matter of fact, I know for a fact that we are not only a rival, their biggest rival. Of course, again, we are their Super Bowl. We are to Miami to what to what Jesus and Satan is to each other, to what Vader and Luke Skywalker, Vegeta and Kakarot. What's some more? Some more I could use, guys. Help me out here. Joker and Batman. That's what we are to Miami. Superman and Lex Luthor. Like, that's what we are. We are their rivals, their biggest rivals. They sleep, think about us. They eat, they think about us. You hear them talking. This just beat Florida State, man. I don't care what else happens. Just beat Florida State. That's where they are at. To me, and I know FSU's unique. So because we have two big rivals, right? And FSU, the fan base is kind of split on who's the bigger rival. For me, Florida's our biggest rival. Florida State is our biggest rival. But there are some FSU fans that consider Miami the bigger rival. So, as a Miami fan, I only get mad at the FSU fans that say they have had more success overall than Miami when you haven't got more chips or head-to-head wins. Y'all have also played football a lot longer than Florida State. So, there's that. I really don't know why people are calling Miami defense any good. They're going to the damn Virginia game for that, trying to say Virginia's offense is good. Well, they did the same thing after the A&M game. They tried to say, man, our defense played extremely well against A&M, but as you can see, or as you've seen all year, A&M's offense has been absolutely atrocious. But Joe Johnson hitting us with some stats, man. So let's check this out. Paris is averaging 4.2 yards a carry versus conference opponents, 196 against conference opponents, 47 rushes against conference opponents, and 0 rushing TDs against conference opponents. Joe, aren't you? Oh, no, Joshua. I'm sorry. Joshua was the Miami fan. I confused Joe and Joshua for a second, so that's my apologies. But thank you for those numbers, Joe Johnson. It shouldn't be, should it? Insane. A&M has terrible rush defense this year, Ole Miss. I know, you're right. Again, so my original question, what's the best defensive front? What's the best front seven that Miami's played? Virginia got to be the best, which is a wild statement, Tyler. If Virginia's the best defensive front seven you've seen, that is absolutely, that is, Bro, our schedule stays crazy. I haven't looked at it, but I like our schedule next year is interesting. We play Bama coming up in a couple years. We don't take a break, bro. We don't take a break. We don't schedule soft. Who will be a better QB for FSU? Who will be a better QB for FSU? JT. I get where you're going there, Redang Bay. That's back to the original question about what wide receiver do I think is going to step up. Mike is getting plenty of targets, man. We are almost spoiled for choice on this team. He's got to make some catches, man. Micah is getting opportunities. He's got to make some catches, but again, I think this might be the I always like a Ja'Kai Douglas prediction because I think Ja'Kai with more targets just is more impressive. So I'm always down for Ja'Kai, but I'm gonna go Micah just because he wants to stick it to his former coach. One thing that has gone really under the radar is Pittman has been as advertised in the punt regard. Well, he's at least fielding punts, right, Tyler? I think we need to get better at blocking them, if I'm being honest. But he's at least fielding them and helping us. You're not letting the ball roll 15 yards. You feel me? So I'm with you. Pope, when you going to have me on so we can chop it up? I'm waiting patiently. What are you doing right now, man? I'll bring you on right now. I'll put the link in the chat right now, Sporadics. You can come on right now if you want to. Like, I'm just spitballing tonight, as you can see. You tell me. I'll bring you on right now. Or we can schedule something later on. I still have nightmares about Johnny. Well, y'all messed up and y'all put number 12 on him like I told y'all not to, and you didn't listen. So, Woody and Buzz Lightyear. Bro, you're asking the wrong person about Demore Tate. I did get some New York pizza. Overrated. Pretty girl, how you doing? Ortiz the Wilder. Man, shut your ass up. Daredevil Bullseye. Uh, yeah, I saw that, man. Plant versus Benavidez. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. What's up, Seminole J? Will Coxon, man. That's a hell of a name. Will Coxon. Something about that name, man. It's wild to me. Will Coxon makes Jerry and Jones look like a Thorpe or Ward candidate. Well, if that's true, and I have no reason to doubt you, sports centric, because I don't know much about Will Coxon, then I'll pass on Will Coxon. I will pass on Will Coxon. Bama gonna be dead by then? I don't know, Seminole J. Don't count on it. Norville Central's in the building. We still had a young Bobby, man. Whew. So this App State and Coastal game is actually pretty good. If you guys aren't paying attention, 28-35. Yeah, our schedule is wild. They're low key trying to make LSU our rival now, making us play them again next year. Well, I think teams agree on a home and home. I don't think they're trying to make them our rivals, but we agreed to a home and home. In this case with LSU, we agreed to what's the word I'm looking for? A adjusted home and home, not really a home and home, because we're gonna play them on Orlando, and then we play them in New Orleans. But you coming on tomorrow? I might. I'm also traveling tomorrow, so I don't know. Depends on how I feel when I get off the plane and get back in Texas. But I might. If I do, I'll keep you posted. Vontae. Okay, for the record, Miami had 175 on the ground against A&M. Okay. I want to see if we've learned from the LSU game. I feel like we let them stay in the game. We definitely let them stay in the game. And it got scary at the end. A real home and home game. I agree. A real home and home would have been better. I absolutely agree with that. You saying whatever, man. You gotta just let me know. You just let me know. I try not to see the thing is I try not to schedule too many things with other people. It's not because I don't want them on or my schedule be all over the place. So I don't like making commitments and then making people telling somebody, hey man, let's do something tomorrow, and then something comes up and now I gotta cancel. I don't like doing that. I feel like that's wasting people's time and all of that stuff. So that's why I don't do it. I'm more or less like people to tell me when they want to do it, and then I can adjust to them. But again, you let me know. Like I said, you can come on tonight. You say the word, and I'll drop you the link, and we can chop it up. It's up to you. I ain't going nowhere no time soon, even though it's 11 o'clock at night. I ain't got nothing to do tomorrow except check out the hotel and go get on the plane and have 3-4 hour layovers and get back to Texas. So I can do plenty of sleeping on the plane. So I'm good. That's an interesting fight. Plant's the better boxer for sure. Plant's the better boxer for sure. Benavidez has that power. So styles make fights. Interesting styles in that one. The fans finna be irate when Louisville steals Ruben Bain. If he goes to Louisville, that would be wild. I would rather have him at Florida State. I'll be kind of salty if he goes to Louisville. I'm not even gonna lie. That LSU game might be crazy. Our season openers are fire. I don't want to jump too far, guys. But I think FSU can have a hell of a team next year. If the people come back who I think should come back, and if Travis comes back, or there's just a lot of potential in next year's team. In 2027, 28, we play Georgia. It gets no easier, guys. That's what I'm saying, man. We are scheduling out of this world. I don't know if Mike's going to be here in 27 and 28, but if he is, hopefully he's actually built something by then. I mean, if he's here that till 27, 28, then I'm assuming he's found his rhythm. We should be competing in these games. Do I think we lose one more? I think it's possible. But if I'm being honest, we take care of business Saturday. The only game I'm worried about is Florida, especially if Syracuse doesn't have their starting quarterback, which as of right now, he's hurt. And we play Syracuse right after Miami. So if I'm being honest, I feel pretty good about every game, including Florida, but I think Florida's the one game that you should be worried about. Josh, as of right now, that's an amazing question to ask. Unless you go to the portal, which I do think, first of all, they have to bring in another quarterback. First of all, they have to bring in another quarterback. They have to. Whether that's through the portal or they have to bring another quarterback. At this point, I don't know if there's a high school player you can bring in or you can recruit. Could be wrong. I follow recruiting fairly closely, but I don't know who's all on their radar. Right? Again, I'm nobody. I'm just a guy that gets on the computer and talks. I don't know anything in depth like that. So I don't know any quarterback they're targeting in the high school ranks. If they are, like, I don't know if they're still trying to talk to Emory Williams or somebody else. Like, I don't know any of that. But even if they are, that guy's not coming here and probably competing day one anyway. If Travis leaves, how much faith do you have in a Rodemaker or a Duffy? Or do you go to the portal, which I think they go to the portal regardless. But then I always say this about portal guys, man. Unless you get me a portal guy with a few years of eligibility, not a lot of portal guys are coming in to sit. Most guys are coming in to start. So quarterback position will be key. And as of this point, with what we have, I'd much rather Travis stays. If we had and this has not a knock on Duffy. Rodemaker, I know he had the moments against Louisville, and that was great to see, but I'm still not sold on Tate, if I'm being honest. I just need to see more. And with Duffy, if he's ready, let's ride. Like, if he's ready, I'm ready to ride. If he's not, let's not rush him out there like they did Jake Garcia. How do you feel about LSU being ranked 10? Is it because they're playing Bama? Well, I think it's because they've had good wins. And, SEC teams get a little bit of a bias anyway, because all the SEC, even the middle of the pack SEC teams, they get treated as if they're better than they really are. So, bro, how do I mute this? I'm sick of this. I don't have a problem with LSU being 10. How many losses LSU have? 2? That's it, right? Bro, turn that off. They only have 2 losses. And that's to what? Tennessee and us? And they've beaten everybody else on the schedule. I mean, I don't know. You really can't be too mad at it. Benavidez won't make weight. This is the healthiest we've been since LSU. What's your favorite Miami FSU moment? I'm guessing it's one of them Dalvin Cook games. Well, you know what, man? I've been watching this um, rivalry for a while. And while Dalvin Cook was amazing, my favorite Miami Florida State moment is, and I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember the players. I remember Kyle Wright as the Miami quarterback getting sacked like 10 times. We had Cameron Wimley and Broderick Bunkley on that defensive line. That is my and that was actually a terrible game to watch. It was that like we weren't very good on offense. But our defense was pretty stout. We dominated their offense. But there was a lot of star power on that. Those two teams should have been better than what they were. But that's one of my favorite games watching. Just watching us sack Kyle Wright like 10 times or whatever the number was. And Cameron Wimbley was doing his thing, and Broderick Bunkley. That's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite moment from this rivalry. I agree, Will. If he's here that long, then he better be doing good, right? I mean, I hear you, but still, I got athletes, man. Don't sleep on Florida's athletes, right? They got athletes. Appreciate you, Kenny. You know, Matt, I hear you, but here's the thing: like a half of football is great, but what happens when you have tape? What happens when teams are actually preparing for you? What happens when teams know your strengths, your weaknesses, and are going to make Tate Rodemaker beat them how they're going to try to make Tate Rodemaker play their game, right? So I know Louisville was a great moment for us, but we got to, at least me, you're allowed to do what you do, man. At least me, I got to see more from Tate, especially when a team has a week to prepare for him, right? Tate's got a lot to show me, right? He's got a lot to show me. But thanks to everybody who's still kicking it. Again, we've been on about an hour so far, and we just shooting it off the hip. Bro, it's the portal of the dang bay. I'm pretty sure the portal. I think the portal is going to be absolutely crazy this spring and winter. All the 24 QBs getting swept up to like 7 of the top. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't really know if there's a high school player that you can really realistically get in on. Hey, I don't disagree, Josh. Those are going to be dope. Let's just hope we don't get embarrassed, right? If we lose any more games this year, we will be losing to less talented teams. We need this. Oh, you commented that twice. Women's soccer tied 3 against Notre Dame heading into OT in case anybody's interested. Shout out to the Lady Noles. I think Lady Noles basketball team like blew a team out. So shout out to them too. I'm doing pretty good, Randy. How are you? Right. That's one of your best moments. And that was also a moment. Does it worry you that FSU is currently getting outperformed in recruiting? Joshua, I'm not going to. So, in case you missed the beginning of the live stream, and I don't mean to do you like this, Joshua, but I'm trying to be fair, right? I don't want people coming off saying I'm a hater, that I don't like Mike Norvell, that I'm a Mike Norvell hater, and so I was told that once we start winning, we're going to recruit better. Now, that's what I was told. Now, if I look at Florida Miami, for whatever reason, that rule doesn't apply to them. They can lose games and be 500 and still recruit top 10 teams, but that's neither here nor there. I'm strictly talking Florida State. I was told once we start winning, we recruit better. I'm going to wait till we win. I'm going to wait. If we can close this season out and be 9-3, should be no excuses, and we should have a pretty good recruiting class. Agree or disagree? I think even 8-4 should have a pretty good recruiting class. But if we go 8-4, 9-3, and we're still in the 20s, low teens, I will have some reserves. So I will not talk recruiting until I see how this team finishes on the field. Then I'll talk how I think we should finish on the trail. But I was told winning cures all. I've always believed recruiters recruit, but I was told winning cures all. So I just want to see which one's true. Do recruiters recruit, or do you have to win to get recruits? It's probably a combination of both, but I do think one has more weight than the other, but that's just my opinion. My worst memory of the rivalry was the Jacoby Harris, the Chopping Benjamin came to beat us. We cannot cover that dude. Man, Polk, I thought you said Friday and Saturday for what? We're talking about live streaming? Bro, this is an impromptu. I didn't even plan this one out. I got bored in the hotel room and said, let me cut on the camera and see what the people talking about, honestly. I still might do something tomorrow, too. Just depends on how I feel once I get off the plane. He's basically Sean McGuire. Yeah, you know what, pretty girl? In my opinion, and I've said this, and I believe this, I think FSU would have been better off had they not went and got Everett Golson and would have just let Sean McGuire be the starter. And I stand to that to this day. I think we made a mistake. Getting Everett Golson to transfer to Florida State when we should have just rolled with Sean McGuire. Jimbo was feeling himself too. That was one of the first signs of Jimbo starting to feel himself. Sean McGuire could have been the same caliber of quarterback of a Christian Ponder. Because when you look at Ponder didn't have a lot of elite traits. He wasn't extremely talented, and then he didn't have an elite arm. He was a smart player, but he didn't have any elite traits. I think McGuire probably even had a better arm than Ponder. Motivated Jimbo could have coached McGuire up to be the right kind of quarterback like he did a Christian Ponder. Jimbo wanted to start microwaving shit, and he started wanting quick answers, and we went with Everett Golson, and I think that ruined us. I think Everett Golson was the first decision at quarterback that ruined us, and we never recovered from that. Also, again, investing in Malik Henry when we should have cut ties with him way earlier than we did also ruined us. Yes, he is, and that kid actually looks very good. Everybody said that at Dang Bay. So I'm just waiting to see. That's all. Polk is a Memphis Mike, Odell Fuller. So I just hate the whole staff. Oh, man. If everyone comes back next year, we could be a dark. I don't disagree with that. I think we got some pieces. Winning does cure all. We'll see. I'm strictly talking recruiting. I do understand that winning does cure a lot. We need to get Cromartie. I think that happens. I spoke on this before. I actually think that happens. No, he's not. Tate ain't no Sean McGuire. I don't believe. I think Sean way better than Tate. But again, we'll see about. Sean was straight. Golson was so bad. I know he was. I don't believe that. I think Golson was just given more opportunities than McGuire. Jimbo didn't invest in Sean McGuire. I think had he invested in Sean McGuire, I actually believe, Ponder had no arm. He had some legs, and he was a smart player, but he didn't have an arm. And Sean had a better arm. Playoff LOL. Well, you're allowed to believe what you want, but I want you to look at what we have and what could potentially come back. It's all dependent on what comes back. I don't even want to jump that far ahead, but let's do it. I'll do it just to entertain you for a second. And I'll get to the quarterback last. Wide receiver. You're going to bring back a guy, because I think Johnny comes back. Okay, so you're going to bring back Pittman. You're going to get Winston Wright. So you're going to lose Ontario Wilson, and you're going to replace him with Winston Wright. Well, theoretically, it's probably an upgrade. Now we got to see how he bounces back from not playing football for a year and the injury. But the football player we've seen at Winston Wright is probably an upgrade over Ontario, right? So you're gonna get that. Micah Pittman gets another year. Johnny Wilson, a guy who's flirting with 1,000 yards this year, is gonna come back. Okay, so you're gonna bring back an 1,000-yard receiver, a guy that has over 1,000 yards in his career at receiver in Winston Wright, and he's also a punt returner and a kick returner. Micah Pittman. Not to mention your recruiting class of Hakeem Williams. Obviously, he's got a stick, right? But Vendarius Jacobs and these other guys. Deuce Spann now is a year better at 6'4", running a 4.4, whatever they say he runs. Supposed to be the fastest guy on the team, potentially. You're bringing him in. He's a year better, a year more in the playbook. You expect him to take a leap. Ja'Kai Douglas, year better. You expect him to take a leap. So that's just your receiving core. That's just your receiving core. You're going to lose a couple of your veteran O-linemen, but you believe your talented guy, your young guys are more talented with higher ceilings. This is not even counting what you're probably, because if I know this staff, they're going to grab something out of the portal on that O-line for sure. That's what they're going to do. Running backs are all going to come back. Trey Benson to be a year better. Trayshawn Ward. So that's just on offense. Again, didn't even touch the quarterback position. Defense. I still think Verse comes back. Some of this could be a pipe dream on my part. I don't think Verse, I think athletically he's a first round pick. I think some of these grades are a little, they're trying to boost his head. Maybe I think Verse should come back. Verse has a lot to improve on his game still, and he's very good now. I still think he can improve a lot. Verse and Patrick Payton as your starting defensive ends. Okay? I don't know who your starting D tackles are going to be, but guys like Daniel Lyons, Joshua Farmer, they're all going to be a year better. Jackson probably comes back. Malcolm Ray's probably still in the rotation there. Tafasi, now he's on that defensive tackle rotation. A freshman that's squatting 800 plus pounds. I mean, holy cow. Where it gets a little dicey, Bethune and Deloach both have a year of after this year. They'll both have another year of eligibility. Both could go pro. Both could come back. If both come back, you have no worry about your linebacking core. Zero. And now you've added depth because you're going to get a Steven Dix back. You still have Lundy. You're adding a Blake Nicholson. Omar Graham is now a year better, ready to play some linebacker. That's if you get the guys back. If you don't, linebacker could be a bit dicey. And now you go to secondary. You're hoping Amarion Cooper breaks out of his sophomore slump. AZ's now a year better, probably a starter. Kevin Knowles is a year better. Maybe he also breaks out of his sophomore slump. Both of our sophomores have dipped this year, but that's not unheard of. That actually tends to happen. That's why the term sophomore slump exists, because that tends to happen. Sam McCall now moves back to safety in his natural position. Shaheem Brown's probably the starting safety there. I don't think it's a stretch. And you also got to remember, all you got to do is win the ACC, bro. All you got to do is win the ACC with one loss or zero. And if the one loss is to a Clemson, but somehow you're still able to win the ACC because maybe Clemson gets another couple losses, all you got to do is win the ACC, and now you're in the conversation. But you can't have like 2 or 3 losses, obviously. It's not unheard of. And this team is going to have plenty of talent and plenty of depth. It's all barring guys leaving or staying. I know I took a long time on that, so. Kate reminds you of Chris Ricks. Man, Kane Dobb. I thought he was gonna be a beast, bro. Hey, Wanda, how you doing? Wanda says Sean was horrible. Lovett probably is gone. I think this is Gainer's last year. I could be wrong. I think Gainer's a senior. Somebody can check that for me. Somebody would have to check that for me. Gainer, is this Gainer's last year? I feel like Gainer, this is his last year. Could be wrong. I don't think Gainer can come back. And he's not transferring because he's a legacy guy. Gainer's not going anywhere. Gainer's gonna, if he does have more eligibility, he'll finish at Florida State. I'm not worried about that. But I think this is his last year. I don't disagree with that, Briley. No, I don't. It all depends on the law. Okay, let's talk about it. Florida State loses. Let's say they lose the first game. I'm assuming LSU's the first game next year. And LSU's probably going to be a top 15 team. You lose the first game to LSU and run the table. You don't think Florida State could make the playoffs? Guarantee you they can. You lose to Clemson, who will probably be a top 10 to 5 team. You don't think Florida State can still make the playoffs? You just have to win the ACC. And even if you don't win the ACC, they'll be in the conversation. Now, I do think you have to win the ACC, but it all depends about who you lose to. Now, I know as we don't get the same bias that the SEC would get, but still, you beat everybody else on your schedule. I think you can afford a loss to at least be in the conversation. I'll tell you this right now. Even if we didn't get in the playoff next year, which I'm not saying we will, we're just all theoretically talking. You would be pissed off, Mr. Orr. You would be pissed off if Florida State lost to Clemson by a field goal, but beat everybody else on the schedule as a one-loss team. And let's say Clemson, the top 5 team. That was our only blemish. And Clemson, they ran the table, right? So they would go undefeated, win the ACC. You would be pissed off if they let a one-loss Big Ten team or SEC team in with a similar resume. So it's not about whether they'll make the playoffs or not. They have a chance to make the playoffs. FSU would be in the mix to make the playoffs. And I don't think that's a stretch. Again, barring people coming back, the development, Travis. There's a lot there, but there's a reason why I said a few weeks ago this team is 2 or 3 players away. And I still believe this team is 2 or 3 players away from being something a little concerning for the rest of the college football world. 2 or 3 more players, you don't blow the NC State game. You know, this team, we'll see. Candy Fisher was nice. Met her a couple times. Ooh. Okay, so Gainer does have another year. Okay, so Gainer keeps some depth in that linebacker unit, which, so a 5 flat. I don't think Travis J goes. Demore Tate probably hits the portal at this point. It's actually a shame that this guy can't even get in a rotation. Like, how bad does he have to be playing when we see some of the guys we're seeing in that secondary get a lot of burn? There's no way to convince me that Demore Tate doesn't hit the portal. Travis J, I don't think so. I think Travis J stays, but I'm not too sure he's playing defense next year. I'll say that. They need to bring back the BCS. If the BCS never went away, I think Florida State would have went back to back. Ain't got nothing to do with a Clemson demise. Just beat them. We ain't got to wish for a Clemson demise. How about we just line the shit up and beat them, like Florida State used to do. bro. But you call me an Odell hater though, and you're talking about replacing them. Look at the pot calling the kettle. Caveman says, respectfully, I don't think Mike Norvell is the head coach that can get it done for you guys. Right now, in my opinion, I feel like FSU should only be. I ain't saying Mike is it or not. I will reserve judgment till we finish the season. That's been my stance on Mike. I want to see how year 3 played out. I'm going to be fair to Mike Norvell. I don't think Clemson will be much better next season than this season. If things go like you say, our chances look good. Man, line that shit up and beat them, bro. Line that shit up and beat them. I do. Yeah, I'm almost positive Gantz. I'm almost positive Gantz is senior. I'm pretty positive that Brendan Gantz is senior. Facts ain't like they unbeatable. We just imploded this year. Caveman, he a bad situational coach, and he gets too cute, can't win the big game. So who's the head coach then that can get it done? I don't know. I don't know if Mike's the answer. I'm not sure who the answer is. What did you and T2Y bet? We didn't bet anything. You know, T2Y don't want to keep his bets, bro. Gant's not a senior either? No, that can't be true. Gant is not a senior? Let me look that up. I think Ray Fitty's lying. I'm looking that up. Jesus, we're bringing back Brendan Gant too? Brendan Gant, FSU. Brendan Gant is listed as a number 28 linebacker, 6'2", 200 pounds, red shirt freaking junior. Golly. We're going to have a loaded team next year, y'all. We're going to have a bunch of 30-year-old defensive players. Brendan Gant like the next Leonard Warner, man. No, the official FSU roster got him listed as a redshirt junior, which is actually good. Maybe they can add 15 pounds to Brendan Gant in the offseason as the linebacker. Hell, maybe we don't hurt that bad if Bethune or Deloach go pro with Gant and Gaynor coming back, along with to add, with bringing in Blake Nicholson, getting Steven Dix back. He's won big games. Who's beating us next year in conference? Nobody. Maybe UNC. Do we play UNC next year? They got a good quarterback. But I thought he was a senior too. Apparently he's not. Odell needs to recruit the big dogs in the trenches against the COVID junior, obviously. Mark Stoops, but they want the Gator brother. Who's the Gator brother? I mean, I want Mark. If Mike don't work out, I think that's where they should go personally. But who's the Gator brother you're talking about? Fitz returns too. Oh God. The UNC team was a fraud. UNC beat. Well, to be fair, we beat UNC 2 years in a row. Even if I agree with you, which I do, Corey, that the COVID UNC team was a fraud. I agree with you there. I agree with you on that. He did beat UNC 2 years in a row. He did beat LSU this year, which for some reason people don't give him credit for the LSU win. I guess because the way the game finished, but a win's not a win, depending on how you win. I'm just trying to count some of the big games that I feel like he's won. I said at the time LSU was the biggest game of his career, and he won it. He did beat UNC twice. I don't really consider those big games, but whatever. Miami was a big game last year. I won't consider it a huge game because I don't, but Miami was a big game. Anytime you beat a rival, that's a big deal. I would say outside of that, though, he hasn't had any big wins. Mike could be fine if he gets an elite staff around him. starting with a D coordinator who does not have that bend but don't break mentality and the DB. So I'm gonna say this, and I don't think I've said this publicly, but I know me and you talked about it. Adam Fuller, I want you to look at the defensive numbers and where this defense ranks. I want you to look at what we're working with on the back end. Now, you can blame that on whatever you want to blame that on. I don't really know, man, if Adam Fuller is not an issue. You can make a legit case that Adam Fuller is doing a lot with less with the amount of injuries that have stacked up on this defensive line. With the amount of injuries that stacked up through the entire defense. I mean, Amari Cooper ain't been healthy all year. You can make a legit case that Fuller has coached beyond what he probably should be. But that's just me. I'm not trying to cat for Adam Fuller, right? But you can make a legit case that he's exceeding with Verse missing games and Lovett missing games, playing a bunch of freshmen on your defense. You can make a legit case he's exceeding what he should be doing. Rotating. Jerry Jones has played a lot of snaps. Martin Cooper hasn't been healthy. New DB and Ronaldo Green. You can make a case that, man, Fuller has been doing a lot with not a lot, or at least maybe some talented pieces, but some extremely young pieces. I'm interested to hear y'all thought process on that. And that's me. That's just me being real. Y'all know me. I'm an avid Fuller hater, but you got to keep it a buck when you really look at what we're doing on defense and what the pieces we have to work with. We're not going to hire Dion, so you don't have to worry about that. Adam Fuller is a joke. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like defend him vehemently, but okay. I agree with you, Briley. That's what I'm pointing to. Look at the personnel. Look at FSU's fielding a top 25 and top 20. FSU's fielding a top 25 offense and top 25 defense. That's astounding when you look at how much time Verse Lovett has missed, how many DBs you've been playing guys like Greedy Vance and Jerry and Jones in your secondary, bro. You've been having to play a lot of true freshmen in your secondary and AZ. Ronaldo Green hadn't played football in like a year or two because he's been hurt. He's been probably your most consistent corner. Only thing you really have are those safeties. And your linebackers have been good, which has helped. But I don't know, man. Woodson can go. I'm with you there. Woodson, Thomas, and Yak. I think Yak can go too because I don't think he recruits well enough. McClellan, Helton, Warner, Lyles, Emmanuel, Gibbons, Turntine, McDonald, Cooper are the only seniors. Young team. What happened to Helton? He's faster than Pittman. That's just what I think. Might be faster. I don't know if he's a better football player, though. Wanda. Fuller played too high man across the board. I thought that was FSU football. They just don't press good. I thought so too, Corey. I thought so too. But if the DBs don't press good, who's that on? Is that on Woodson or Fuller? Maybe both. Not too sure. I'm just saying. Fuller has more on his plate than just his DBs, right? He has to coach an entire defense and call the plays for said defense. Why our DBs can't seem to play with the right technique? That's my question. Yeah, he was a grad transfer, so Emmanuel's gone. I'm just calling it like I see it, bro. I can see if we were fielding an elite level talented defense, I could have a look at what we dealing with, especially when we haven't been healthy. The program won't hire Dion. I don't believe so. Could be wrong. I don't believe so. I'm not gonna go as far as to call the man outstanding. But some of the things that he used to do that he doesn't do anymore, I like the improvement. Um, Fuller used to have a big issue that I had where he would love to line up our safeties over the slot receiver on ones, and I actually hated that. I'm not a fan in any defensive scheme. Your safeties playing man coverage. That's just my personal preference, right? Um, he stopped doing that though. You don't see a lot of Dent or Jamie in one-on-one coverage anymore, do you? Yeah, that's my point, Todd. Defense is lacking some playmakers, is lacking some health, and with the way the front seven's been playing, if you actually had an FSU secondary, I'd argue that this defense would be a lot better. Bethune is that dude. What's up, Terrence? I mean, it's Wake Forest. Once all those super seniors leave, they'll go back to being Wake Forest. And it's going to take them another 3 or 4 years to develop a team, and then they'll have a competent team again. Wake does that because they don't recruit at the elite level. Hell, they barely recruit at a good level. I would even argue they don't recruit at a good level. So a team like Wake Forest, they have to get their guys, but then they need to take the 2 to 3 years to develop them. Then in that fourth year, they get to us. That's when everybody's developed. They usually have a 8-9 win season that fourth year. All the seniors leave, and then they dip again. That's what Wake Forest and programs like a Wake Forest do. He coached the backers. He coaches the backers, and he's the co-DC. I don't know if you can not. You might. The only thing you can really knock Randy for is recruiting, because your linebackers have been the best. We've had the best backer play we've had since Telvin, Christian Jones, and Terrence Smith. Because the D-Jack era was, oh my god, the D-Jack era was not to pound on D-Jack, but it is what it is, bro. You ain't even got to develop a running back. Them running backs doing them. The running backs going running back. You get a talented running back, they gonna play. What's up, Panama? Yeah, it's a little bit late, but we kicking it. What's up, John? Cause I ain't got nothing to do, man. I'm in the hotel room, bored. I really hope we can pull Baxter. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but I hope we can get him. They will decline to probably 4 or 5 losses. They'll make a bowl. They'll probably be a middle of the pack for a long while. Can't wait for the day he gets a helmet sticker. I don't think that ever happens, but I'm gonna give credit where it's due. But I don't think that ever happens. Polk, I'm really late. What's prediction on? I gave my prediction on Wednesday actually, but for you, I got it 34-20. They've been playing Dennis Briggs. Dennis Briggs, I think he's only a junior too, man. And with the emergence of Patrick Payton, Dennis Briggs might go back inside permanently. I'm finna look up Dennis Briggs, man. Some of these guys that I didn't think were coming back, I think are coming back too. I think Dennis Briggs suffered from moving back outside because he's not really a true DN. I mean, you got the guy, he's at 280 pounds trying to play defensive end, right? Um, yeah, he's a redshirt junior, bro. And with the emergence of Peyton, if you've watched the last few games, they've actually moved Briggs back inside. Man, I'm telling you, man, this team, y'all saying he fell off, but he didn't fall off. He's just, they're using him a certain way, and he has to adjust to the way he's being used. I don't think he fell off at all. Chris Marv's legacy, man, watch out. The last good linebacker? Well, D-Walk was a DN who they tried to move the linebacker into the NFL, which was not smart. The last good backer. So, Telvin, Terrence, I would go Matthew Thomas. And then after Reggie Northup was a good college backer. It wasn't anything like special, but he was a good college backer. At least he would hit. I don't know if y'all remember Roderick Hopkins. He was all right. Emmett Rice, before he got hurt, was coming along. So when you say good, we've had some good ones, but NFL caliber, yeah, we haven't had any NFL caliber guys since Telvin. Maybe Matthew Thomas. Matthew Thomas had a ton of talent. He kind of let it go to waste. What would Fuller? Again, Fuller won a helmet sticker. Give me the good old goose egg. Did the Hall kid? What Hall kid? $47-4. That is a funny score. Oh, you think it's gonna be close? Woodson teaching our DBs how to make a play on the ball because I'm tired of seeing our DBs out of position and face guarding. You know, Briggs is a true DN. He played DN in high school. Briggs is a tackle, bro. Just because you know who else played DN in high school? Joshua Farmer. Briggs is a tackle. He's a defensive tackle. I do not believe he's a true DN. He's 280 playing DN. He could probably get up to 290. I said AJ Nicholson. Man, that's a long time. Tommy Pauly. Wow. Reggie Northup, yeah, he's an MMA fighter now. He be knocking dudes out cold if you ain't watched him. That was Matthew Thomas. I said that on my off-season show. I remember you saying that. Now he's a D tackle. He was a D again. He was a DN. Actually, no. I think if you check, I'm gonna check. They had him listed as a D. Now he might have played DN in high school. I'm not gonna argue with you there. But if you check coming out of high school, they projected him as a defensive tackle. And I'm gonna check because I think I'm right. I think I am right. So I'm gonna check. I'm not even sure what class Briggs was in. Was it 20 or 19, y'all? I think it was 20. No, I think it was 19. But I want to get back to this one. I'm not sure how much longer we can keep. Wow, look, we can keep getting by counting to use the portal. What happens when we can't rely on that anymore? That's why we need Norvell to start doing better in recruiting. Well, like I said, I'm not going to talk about recruiting until after the season. Well, I will talk about the transfer portal, though, because I think for some reason, I think some of our fans I don't know if it's because of some traditional views or we just haven't got hit to what's going on. You realize the guy that's about to win the Heisman is a transfer guy, right? The Tennessee quarterback, he used to play at Virginia Tech. Bama's starting linebacker. I forget, like he's got a Polynesian name. He's a transfer portal guy. They're starting running back. He's a transfer portal guy. They got a couple receivers that start for them, transfer portal guys. And I can go on and on. Quentin Edwards at Texas, transfer portal. Like we can do this. We can go on and on about some of the top players in the country were acquired in the portal. The portal isn't what it once was, where you were only going to get a guy for a year. No, the portal is a valid option. When you say what happens when you can't rely on that anymore, I have a personal opinion, but newsflash, the portal's not going anywhere. You know why? Because coaching transitions always going to happen. Firings are always going to happen. Players outperforming their rankings are always going to happen. There's always going to be a transfer portal. Kids are always going to leave lower institutions to try to seek higher institutions. Bad situations to try to seek leave bad situations and try to seek better situations. There's always going to be a Jared Verse out there who's playing in, a lower tier school right now, but is obviously a Division I caliber player. I don't know why there's such a big pushback on the transfer portal. I really don't. I don't get it. Some of the best players and some of the best teams in the country they came out of the transfer portal. Now, do you have to combine the portal with high school recruiting? Absolutely. I believe so. You can get, not only do you get valid options out of the portal, you get college-ready kids. I talked about this before. I believe I talked about it Wednesday. Show me the true freshman wide receiver, regardless of stars. I don't care if it's a 5-star or a 0-star. Show me the first-year freshman receiver in the country right now that's playing or giving you more production than Johnny Wilson. Show me him. We so worried about stars that we ain't worried about actual guys coming in and actually ready to play football. Guys, 8 out of 10 of your freshmen ain't playing year one. And if they do, they're playing in a reserve role and they're not full-time starters. Those guys that can play year one, day one on a college campus, they are in the top 10 percentile of high school recruits. And I'm probably being generous by saying the top 10. The portal is a valid option. And then you can use recruiting as well to build that depth. The portal gives you that buffer. But it's not even a buffer anymore. Because I can get Johnny Wilson out of the portal, and he's got 3 years of eligibility, guys. I got Johnny Wilson this year, the next year, and the next year. That's a high school recruit. I got Jared Verse this year, the next year, and the next year. That's the same thing you're going to do with a high school recruit. I'll just use a name. Marvin Jones, he's either going to do what? He's going to redshirt, then play 2 years and go pro as a redshirt junior if he's really good, or he's going to play from year one, play 3 years, and dip. That's the same thing as Johnny Wilson playing 3 years and dipping or 2 years and dipping. It's the same thing. I know I got on a little bit of a tangent there on this portal stuff. We got to stop thinking that this portal stuff is like some bad thing. Bro, the portal is a legit option, and I don't know why we're so eager to fight it. Got to that one already. He can't recruit Florida. Everything from the portal from out west. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Norvell. The only guy Norvell got from out west is Johnny Wilson. Micah Pittman, a Florida boy. His dad played for the Bucks. The man grew up in Florida. What are you talking about? I'm assuming you're talking about Micah Pittman. He's a Florida boy. Trey Benson, I know he played at Oregon too, but he's a Mississippi kid, so he's Southeast. Who's from out west? I'm assuming you're talking about Norvell. I could be wrong and off base there, but I'm assuming you're talking about Norvell right there. What's up, Kusami? Go Noles. I did see the picture of that. I absolutely remember Gibbs as a recruit. Thank you, Brandon. I don't know why we're pushing back on the portal, bro. Now, I would be against it if it was like it was. You only get 1 year of a kid. You can't build a program off 1 year. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I can literally get freshmen out of the portal right now if I want to. Guys with 3-4 years. We got Keziah Holmes, and he's a freshman. So I know he's ineligible this year, but guess what? Keziah Holmes next year, 3 years of eligibility. And he's able to – the man was able to go because he was a COVID kid. So you got to get development at Penn State. We get to develop him for a year. Like, why would you not take a Keziah Holmes? Why are we so against the portal? He might be a one and done guy. I don't think he is. I think Verse comes back because I don't think he's as high as a draft pick as people say he is. That's my personal opinion. But he could be a one and done. But the point is, he has 3 years of eligibility, though. That's the point. Whether he's a one and done guy, again, he can go. I know he has that option. I think Verse stays at least another year. I agree with that, Brandon. I don't think Verse has enough tape. But people are allowed to say what they want. Need a solid play from the D-line, no coverage, bust for explosive on the ball. Don't have any scoreless quarters, and we win by 3. Again, I don't think so. He can go, but I think he's going to be a second-round pick. Maybe I'm an old head. I feel you, but we have to win Florida. No, I agree we have to win Florida recruits. I'm not saying we don't. I'm not saying we don't have to recruit, bro. I'm just saying we keep acting like the portal ain't a real option. Right? I agree we got to recruit the state of Florida. I do not disagree with you. Ultimately, you need a healthy mix of transfer portal, you need a healthy mix of transfer portal and recruiting. You still want the life, but the transfer portal is recruiting nowadays. Like that, I think that's the thing that I think people are struggling with. Ultimately, we're still calling it the transfer portal. No, it's just another dynamic of recruiting. USC literally recruited a Pitt player, the Biletnikoff winner, to their team. Like, once these kids hit the portal, that is another full-blown recruitment. These kids are being allowed to make a mistake and say, you know what? I made a mistake going to this school. Let me get another crack at this. You know? Talking about Tamarion Terry? Okay, I see. Didn't realize the portal would always work. I think it's not about whether it always works. It's always an option. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the thing is, like, even the portal at its worst, you're still getting a guy who's ready to play college football now. Um, and I think the real thing that I really push back on what you're saying here, and what a lot of people say is like this last part here. We've been relying, how much we've been like, if we're the only teams, like if Florida, like it's just like if Florida State is the only team that's relying on the transfer portal. Again, your Heisman winner is going to be a transfer. The Tennessee quarterback came out the portal. Like some of your best players are out of the transfer portal is what I'm trying to kind of get across. Florida State is not the only team that's in the transfer portal, bro. I think that's my big pushback with the portal stuff. Like all of these teams, I mean, USC literally just built the team out of the transfer portal. They've only lost one game this year. You know, like Oklahoma goes and gets theirs. Now I know Gabriel's been trash. Dylan Gabriel, whatever, from UCF. I don't even think he starts for them anymore. But you get my point. Like all of the big programs are pulling from the portal, and not just for depth. They're pulling major positions of need, quarterback, running back, and day one starters out of the portal. Florida State is not the only team that, like, we're just the only one. Like, I don't know. You guys make it seem like we're the only team that's pulling scraps out of the portal and trying to get by. Yeah, Chuba was from Arizona. I know. I agree. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it either, but I think Axe is going to hit the portal hard. But again, I'm not talking recruit until we finish. You think Jameis would get us some recruits? I mean, that's another key that you put like this. Heupel's in what is Heupel in year 2 or 3 in Tennessee? Somebody can give me that answer. I think he's in year. I know he's in year 2 or 3. Without the transfer portal, is Tennessee where they are right now? No. I'll just answer it for you. No. Without the transfer portal, Tennessee's not where they are right now. Without the transfer portal, they got some receivers that's out of the portal, defensive players that's out of the portal. Tennessee didn't to build that thing overnight. He had to go to the portal and get players. You know, your boys in year 1, Lincoln Riley over there in USC. If he couldn't rely on the portal, how good is you in USC right now? You know what I'm saying? So these rebuilds are happening, not just for Florida State, but for a lot of these schools. These rebuilds are happening because of the portal. That's the thing that bothers me the most, is this notion that Florida State is the only team using it. When literally your college football playoff is going to consist of teams that's using the portal. Literally. I don't think so. I think he stays at running back. Wide receiver room's too deep. How good do you think we would be and other teams would be? They'd still be good, but the rebuild would take longer. Tennessee's not where they are in a top 5, top 3 matchup with Georgia this weekend if they couldn't have relied on the transfer portal. You feel me? Yeah, I know. That's my point, R. David. That's what I've been preaching. That's what I continue to preach. And again, you can look across the country. Like this isn't. Again, Florida State's not the only team doing this. And I know it seems like I got real passionate about the transfer portal because I hate the narrative that the picture that people paint of Florida State's the only team that goes to the portal. Mike Norvell can't recruit, so he just gets everything out of the portal. And this ain't about well, I guess it is about defending Mike Norvell because Nick Saban don't have a problem with the transfer portal. He's definitely the greatest coach of his generation, if not of all time. I'm still partial to Bobby. That's biased on my part. But the greatest coach of his generation is like the transfer portal? Hell yeah, I'm going to use the transfer portal. For some reason, this notion that Mike Norvell should be chastised because he relies too much on the transfer portal, I think is a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. Say what you want. Say what you want. That lets me know he can't close the deal like Bobby used to. Well, everybody ain't Bobby. You got to recruit the hell with all that. I mean, that's your opinion. But Tennessee, Heupel says otherwise. Lincoln Riley at USC says otherwise. Alabama and Nick Saban, now he still recruits well, don't get me wrong. But if Nick Saban recruited so well, why is his starting linebacker out of the transfer portal? Why is his starting running back out of the transfer portal? Why is some of his top receivers out of... You know why? I'm going to tell you why, Corey. Because even though he recruits well, you know what happens? Some of those guys just don't hit. Some of them 5 stars just don't hit. And you need college-ready players to get ready to play football. So we can go to the high school ranks all we want. And I'm not dismissing high school at all. You definitely need to get high school young men in there to get in there and compete. But that's like you starting a business. Are you going to hire the cook with no experience or the guy that's been doing the job for 5-10 years with a resume stacked up? That's all I'm saying. I just think y'all would have a case if the greatest coach of all time said, "Yeah, transfer portal is ridiculous. I don't need to use it because I'm that good on the recruiting trail that I don't need to use it." Then you'd have a case, in my opinion. And honestly, the Green Arrow, we can get away from Florida State. Because honestly, when we say Florida State's players, to a certain degree, that proves Corey's point, or the point that he's trying to push. And the point that he's trying to push is all of our best players in recent years are out of the portal. We're not recruiting anything, and we're not developing anything. So to that point, he has a point. But what we have recruited has just needed to take time to develop. So in the process, we've had to get portal players to buffer the time. Right? So don't tell me we can't develop guys when we're watching Patrick Payton in front of our eyes develop. You've watched Robert Scott in front of your eyes from day one develop. And other players. Trayshawn Ward. Right? But for some reason, we dismiss the guys that do develop and we focus on who we're bringing in the portal. And again, I get it. There is somewhat of a point there that all of our best players in recent years have been out the portal. That is a true statement to a degree. Which is why I want to get away from Florida State, because I can say that Bama's best receivers in recent year have been from where? Not named Devonta Smith. They've been what? Out of the portal. Again, their best running back on their roster is where? They still got Trey Sanders on that roster, but they went and got Jahmyr Gibbs. Why? Because Trey Sanders was a 5-star running back that didn't hit. Because sometimes them high school players don't hit. I like looking at the other players and the other teams using the portal because the notion that we can't develop anything, well, then that's the case. Nick Saban can't develop Trey Sanders. He can't develop any wide receivers because he keeps getting wide receivers out of the portal. And we can use that on and on. But see, that narrative doesn't get spun. It only gets spun when we start talking about the garnet and gold. So I am adamant about this portal thing because honestly, I think that's the future of the game. I think it's the future of the game. You're going to have to recruit the portal just as hard as you're going to have to recruit high school. The biggest problem with the portal, in my opinion, is that it hurts the off the radar kids. It's going to hurt some of the kids that don't go to the camps, that don't, the hidden gems out there, because some coaches, not all, but some coaches are going to say, I am not wasting my time in Jessup, Mississippi, or Macon, Georgia, or DeLand, Florida, trying to scout the next gym from the backwaters of the South when I can find a college-ready player in the portal this winter, this spring. Why the hell am I going to waste my resources going to Plant City, Florida, going to False Proof, Florida, going to Auburn, Florida, going to what's that place on that show? The Pink, going to Miss, what's that place? Y'all know this. Going to that Willacoochee, Georgia. Like, I'm not going to waste my time doing that. That's who it hurts. It hurts those kids. The portal has saved Norvell's job. He is in year 3, but in reality, his first year was the worst possible year to take over the Titans. Yeah, no lie there. No spring game, no recruiting, and he had a ton of guys hit the transfer portal. You don't, the Shaheem Browns will suffer. Yeah, P Valley, but what's the show that P Valley is in? What's the city that P Valley's in, man? I forget the name. So you're not going to go to that part of Mississippi, but John, you know what I'm talking about, John. I don't really think it matters. I mean, it's the band. I've never seen the band win a football game. Dabo doesn't use the portal, although he's still getting undefeated seasons. There's one guy who hasn't had an undefeated. When was the last time Dabo had an undefeated season, y'all? What was the last national championship? Was it 17 or 18? We're in 2022 now, so he's not getting any undefeated seasons since this transfer portal came in the mix. I'm still on here, bro. Going on 2 hours strong. I still got 60 people in here, so I'm actually surprised. Uncle Clifford at QV. Chuckalisa. You ain't going to Chuckalisa no more to find kids. There you go, Chuckalisa. I'll have wanted to call it something else, but Chuckalisa. Those hidden gems will go to lower classifications. And you know what, R. Davis? They will go to lower classifications. And guess what's going to happen? Then they're going to hit the transfer portal and try to go to the big time because they're going to outplay where they get recruited. And yet they all use it, Georgia included. Dabo's the only one that I can say that hasn't digged into the transfer portal. And again, when's the last time Dabo's had an undefeated season? When was the last time Dabo made the college playoff? The COVID year? We'll see if he makes it this year. And he might. But I'm going to say this. I think Clemson will get embarrassed in the college football playoff if they play really any of those teams. I'm rooting for TAMU. Y'all ain't going to get me. I don't give a damn if Jimbo is coaching TAMU. I'm rooting for TAMU. Go Aggies. They used to. When Dabo was trying to build that thing up, they would play Georgia, LSU, and Auburn first game of the season. Now that Dabo's kind of got his place in the college football hierarchy, Clemson has eased their scheduling up. They don't do that anymore. But just 10 years ago, 2012 and all of that, go look how Clemson would open their seasons. They were playing the Georgias and the Auburns and the LSUs. Absolutely they were. Now they don't do that as much because, again, Clemson has this – they got the lure around him. You know, he's built himself into that hierarchy where Clemson's all – they're going to be looked at as the team in the ACC at the jump. He don't need to go out there and schedule anything too crazy. Yes, I think TAMU wins. Yeah, they finally let that freshman quarterback play, and he's been better. So I got A&M. I got A&M. Jimbo don't lose to Florida. He lost what, once to Florida? And Saban's never really scheduled hard, tough out of conference games. The big game Saban's had is like USC when they were sorry. So big name games, but not necessarily tough games. I like the chances. Guess who was coaching that defense, Ardavius? I'll give you two guesses. Don't Google it. But guess who the defensive coordinator was? Guess who Clemson's defensive coordinator was when West Virginia dropped 70 on them? I want you to guess. But people tell me he a good defensive coordinator, though. I think Florida might go into that game trying to get a bowl game, and we might get a chance to return the favor and stop them from getting a bowl game. Kevin Steele. Nope. It was Steele. Steele was the D coordinator that made them go get Brett. It was that game that they were like, oh, hell no. We can't win anything, even though our offense had the DeAndre Hopkins and the Taj Boyds and all that. They were like, nope, we don't have the defensive of personnel. It was that game that made them say, let's go get Brett Venables. I think it's going to be a damn fun game to watch, but I'm going with Tennessee myself. Would not be shocked if Georgia wins, though. I think if Georgia beats Tennessee, they're going to repeat. But man, I did 2 hours with y'all tonight. Is there a limit to how many players you can pick up in the portal? No. No, there is not. You can get as many players in the portal as you have scholarships available. So what I believe is, and I don't know this off the top of my head, but I'm pretty positive your portal is tied to your scholarships that you have in any given recruiting. Actually, didn't they take away the recruiting? If I'm not mistaken, they even took away the scholarship limit to where you can sign as many players as you want. But the caveat is you still only can have a certain amount of players on your roster. So they've changed this whole transfer portal and recruiting landscape over the last couple years. I don't think there's a cap to your recruiting class anymore. There used to be like you only get 25 or so scholarships a year. I actually think they got done away with that. So you can add as many players out of high school and many players out of portal as you want, but obviously for every player you add that's over the limit of players you can have on a college roster, you're going to have to get a player to leave your program. $85 scholarship players. And I think they got rid of the recruiting cap. I told you got to get a goose egg. Hold Miami to 0, and I'll put a sticker on that helmet. That doesn't quit football. Cap is like 85 now. Yeah. So to answer that question, yeah, you can take as many players as you want as long as you don't hit that 85 cap limit. Y'all already know they brought up Dustin. So with that being said, we've been on here for 2 hours, man. This was a good little impromptu live stream, man. I didn't plan this one out. I didn't have any expectations. I didn't even know if y'all would show up on a Thursday night, but y'all showed up till midnight. And so we go ahead and check out here, fellas. Good discussions too. We didn't quite talk as much of the rivalry as I may have thought we were, but it was no topic. It was just, hey, let's get on here and kick it. But we talked a lot of portal stuff, recruiting stuff, maybe even the future of the program. So that was dope, right? It was dope. So dope conversation tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit that like button on the way out, man. Hit the like button on the way out. I'm gonna try. I continue to try to do more of these, and because I see this one got a pretty good reception. So I appreciate y'all, man, for kicking it with me on the night when I was bored. Yeah, man. Y'all know when y'all bring him up, y'all already know what time it is. Hey, appreciate you, Corey, man. All love out here. Enjoyed the show. Hey, appreciate you, Melly Mel. Appreciate you. So, as always, man, it's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. And I will see. I'm gonna try to see y'all tomorrow, man. If I'm too tired from my trip back to Texas, maybe not, y'all. But y'all already know. Y'all definitely gonna see me on Saturday. Saturday, I'm in there. Win, lose, or draw. Dang, John, I thought you was asleep. But shout out to John. He stayed here just to say go Canes. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna catch y'all maybe Friday night. If not, Saturday, win, lose, or draw. Y'all already know where we at. Go Noles and beat them Canes. Y'all have a good night, man.